And we are back. Welcome back, everybody, to this live stream. We're this time here for the qualifying session, the final qualifying session of the 2020 season, and the final qualifying session of the real-life performance era here in Brazil. I am once again JBW97, and I'm once again joined by F2 commentator Robert Ionescu.
Well, it looks like it's dried up there. And hey, Joe, are you excited for this last quali of the regular era? I guess the way I should refer to it, of the last qualifying session with real car performances.
Indeed, I'm looking forward to it. Well, as Rob's just said, we've got a dry qualifying session, so no rain like we saw in practice. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to ask you, Rob, who do you believe will be eliminated in the first part of qualifying?
Well, this is Maris' last race, so I'd hate to see them both drop out in Q1. I think both will drop out in Q1. Alongside them will be both Williamses, one Haas, and one Alfa Romeo. That's my guess.
Indeed so. I'm going to go with both Manners, both Haas's, a Williams, and an Alfa Romeo. I think I'm going to play it safe for this one. I do think one Williams might actually make it through. Well, for anybody who's wondering, of course, because we haven't had any dry running, the tyres we're using for the final race of the season is the yellow medium tyres. So, something to bear in mind there for you. Will they be used in the race tomorrow? We'll have to wait and see. It kind of depends on the weather. But Amelia Wilson is going to be the first car out on track. Again, guys, leave your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in Q1, and I'll read them in just a little bit. But anyway, I've got something I need to announce as well. I was going to save this for qualifying, and I'm going to do that right now. So, we mentioned as well in the commentary Discord chat that I've got some info I need to share, and this is what this is. It wasn't anything to do with the sign-up, by the way, for the sign-ups. So, you may have realised that whenever a driver returns or is making their debut for the top class, I normally make a video for it, right? Which is called the return of whatever driver and who is whatever driver, basically. And I presume that some of you will probably be expecting that tonight as well. That is not going to be the case. I have decided that I'm not going to be doing those videos anymore. For a simple reason, really. Obviously, because of the fantasy era, it's now opened up a few more projects, really, to do. Obviously, with the car launches being a good example of that. It's got to a point now where I need to start cutting back on some videos that I'm doing. So one of them, of course, is the Hot Lap series I do. I'm not doing that anymore for obvious reasons, because of obviously my PC issues. And that's also going to be one of them as well. I am not going to be doing those videos anymore. So don't expect a video tonight for Jesus, Julius, and Roman. Yeah, because
that's understandable.
I've decided to not do that now. I need to basically not put myself through any more anxiety, basically. So I've cut back on some videos, but hopefully you guys will be okay with that. So I'll also reiterate it on Discord for anybody who's not got this message. But yeah, I'm not going to be doing those videos anymore, I'm afraid. So I apologise for people who love those videos, but I need to stop, being productive.
Well, I like those videos, but it's totally understandable. So as long as you don't push yourself too hard, we understand. As you got a yellow flag already in Ferradura, just a few corners behind where Wilson is right now. And who's gone off? It's car's gone off.
One of the championship contenders has gone off the track. So whilst everyone was starting, Car has just made a mistake there. As
a Mercedes didn't get in the middle sector in Q1 in Brazil. Where have I seen that before? But thankfully he got back out on track.
I know where you went with that, Rob. I knew where you went
with that. A British Mercedes, might I add.
Yes, indeed, a British driver in a Mercedes going off of this corner. But yeah, it's a simple mistake, really. Just locked it up there, Rob.
Thankfully, he didn't take any damage. Sure, his lap is ruined, but he'll get another one of those.
Indeed so. Anyway, whilst we were speaking there, let's go through some of the predictions that people have put. So Dennis has put both Manners, both Haas, and both Williams to be eliminated. Raya said both Manners, both Haas, and Williams, and an Alpha. And from Chanak Kirshane said both Manners, both Williams, and Alfa Romeo, and a Haas. So some different variations with the bottom teams there. But meantime, Wilson has set the benchmark time of 1 minute 9.9, 4/10 slow for Kirby, 1 minute 8.0 for Gal. So we've seen some very quick lap times in qualifying. Chong 1/10 off of Gal. Motrin goes into third position. Rosetta Martinez.
Fourth place, not bad. As Rogue goes to the top. Gal will obviously go down to last with this lap time.
because of that mistake, of course. So Carr will be 20 seconds off the pace in last. Sixth place for Andrea Vaderi, of course. I was going to bring up the fact that Gao originally took pole here last year before having a grid penalty, which gave Laura Chung the pole. So maybe he could be looking for redemption here in qualifying if he can. It's P6 for Felix Sontag. Franco Lopez crosses the line and he goes to the top by 0.2 of a second. Franco Gamba also goes to the top now by a tenth, so he dethrones his fellow Franco there as Byrne slots into fourth. Jake Galloway, rookie of the season, you could argue, goes into fifth. DV Cupop crosses the line, goes into ninth. Roberto Gamba, his final qualifying session, slots into 10th, as Kirishima De Rosa is going to cross the line to go into 12th. Joseph Willows in the other McLaren goes across the line, goes into 11th place, and I'll get into a topic with Joseph Willows in just a little bit, because there was one thing I kind of left out in practice. But Gomez goes into 15th. Daniel Fraser goes into 15th position as well. Griffith goes into 13th. So at the moment, of course, Carr is in the drop zone, but of course he made that mistake. So the other 5 in the drop zone so far: Gomez, Sontag, Vaderi, Wilson, and Kirby. So those first runs are pretty interesting, Rob, you'd have to say.
I predicted the both mares would go out, but at the moment Martinez is doing very good for himself in what is for now going to be his last race. He may get back in the future, of course, but in 2021 he won't be there on the grid.
Indeed so. Now, of course, I was going to bring up a topic about Joseph Willows there. I was supposed to bring up in practice, but I kind of forgot. A lot of things kind of happened in that session. So, of course, for Joseph Willows, this is his final chance to continue his 100% winning record. As you know, every season Joseph Willows has won at least one race. Well, it could end tomorrow if he doesn't win, and if that happens, it'll be the first ever time that Joseph will have a winless season in the OC. The streak would have officially come to an end if he doesn't win tomorrow. So whether he will or not, it's going to be a bit of a task, I think, personally, looking at the pace of the McLaren so far. But you never know, of course. Things could happen in the race and the McLaren somehow get the victory. Who knows? But it's going to be a bit of a tough task, I think, for his streak to continue, Rob.
It's a very, very long shot. But for goodness sake, we've had the Williams on the podium this season, so never rule anything out.
Indeed so. Of course, we've seen a couple of times. We've got a crash in the pit lane. It's Jamie Griffiths.
Speaking of Williams, and this is exactly where he crashed with Dudu Kirby last season in GP2.
I wonder if he's had a similar sort of incident. Let's have a look. And it is a Haas. Don't tell me it's Fraser, not Kirby. It would have been ironic if it was Kirby there, Rob, but it isn't. It seems like it's a bit of an incident between Fraser and Griffiths. It seems to be the common...
Well, both those things happened on a Tuesday. This time it wasn't Kirby.
It seems to be that... Whoa, okay.
He went off on his phone over that bump. My goodness.
Yeah, is a thing with this track. There always seems to be a bump. We also saw it, I think, as well in GP2, if I'm not mistaken, Rob.
Yeah, Ruslan Procuk went under the track in qualifying.
And that obviously uses a different pit lane entrance to the one that the top class uses. But same sort of situation there. So Griffiths is going to have to get into the spare car as a result of hitting that bump, as a result of trying to somehow go side by side with Daniel Fraser there. But of course, that wasn't...
I don't understand what he was trying to achieve by that. There was no point at all.
Indeed so, as some people saying WTF, including Vedran Vedrina, who's just joined us. Hello, Vido. Anyway, as Dudu Kirby is now coming out onto the racetrack, first of all, one of the home favourites, of course. Neither of the two Brazilian drivers will be on the top class grid next season. Of course, Kirby retiring after this race, and Gabriel Gomez, of course, missing out on a drive. So whether he'll end up in either DTM, Formula E, or World Champ car next season, we will have to wait and see, of course. I mean, DTM, of course, he is a former champion in that, as is Rosetta Martinez, is also not going to be on the top class grid next season. So who knows? Maybe those two could find their way back into that series. We'll have to wait and see, or they may end up trying to go for a different path. Who knows? But anyway, I'm pretty sure both of them will want to get back in the top class in the future. We'll have to wait and see, of course. As Dudu Kirby now then just goes out the hairpin, as he'll be starting his second flying lap very, very soon. And one driver to keep an eye on, though, Rob, is of course Almar Carr, who, of course, let's not forget, had that mistake on his first flying lap.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a Mercedes get dropped in a qualifying session before in Q2 specifically. We've seen it first happen in China, but I really don't think it's going to be the case this time unless Carr gets massively held up. Even in this Mercedes, no matter how badly you get held up, you can still get into top 17 no problem, top 16 no problem. So yeah, I don't think Carr has anything to worry about. As long as he keeps it on track for one of those 2 laps he's got left, he's gonna make it through, as the Kirby is now going through the Interlagos.
He is indeed. And of course, on the topic of that as well, of course, will Mercedes still be competitive next season? That is going to be a question with the fantasy era. Will they still be challenging for the title next season, or will somebody else come about and basically disrupt their reign, of course? Because the last 5 seasons, it's obviously the championship has been won by a Mercedes driver, and we know that this season will be won by
Major
a
lockup
Mercedes
for Kirby is
driver.
just gone off track. It's the same mistake I made in the race here in 2014. But unlike me, he didn't crash it.
Yes, indeed, Kirby making a big error there, and we might look at a replay of that a little bit later on there. But it has cost him time, and now we're going to have a look at it. And yeah, just a simple lockup, Rob.
Yeah, indeed. It's a tricky corner to get right. The apex can be deceiving. You don't want to get on the throttle too early, but Kirby was too aggressive on the brakes, I guess.
Indeed so, and hello, Franco Lopez has just joined us in the stream chat. Meanwhile, as Kirby will finish off in his lap, but there's no point because he's not going to be able to improve.
Looks like Zonta could be about to improve, but there's a big fat Renault behind him hoping to pass him and maybe ruin his lap, I don't know. Anyway, Zonta in the middle sector, he is up by 3.5 tenths, so this is obviously a good improvement.
Is
If
indeed,
it stays as is, I'm not sure if he'll get him out of the drop zone or not. But let's see, he's going to cross the line, and the Renault's going to come side by side with him.
Renault being Evan Byrne as they go side by side. Will Sontag still improve regardless? He will, but still in the drop zone as Gal goes up into third meantime. So Gal improves.
You have Wilson, she's on an improvement where she's going to place herself into 14th. That's an amazing lap. She's going in front of Martinez in their last qualifying session as teammates. But there he goes 16th as here have the championship leader. And champion in waiting, only himself and the car, as I said in practice, can stop him. And Armarca will have to take advantage of either Lopez or the car. Let's see if he can get into safety. Yes, he can, P5.
That's the 2 racing points are now racing each other down the pit straight as Motrin gets up into third. Probably a healthy bit of slipstream there from his teammate George Roque. But Lopez goes to the top as we saw a little bit earlier. Martinez doesn't improve. De Rosa, meanwhile, is in the drop zone as a result of all these improvements, along with Videri and Fraser. As Kirby goes into the pits, here comes De Rosa. He needs to improve. Maybe got a bit of slipstream.
Got a little bit of toe. Let's see as he crosses the line.
12th. Only 12th for him there, as Franco Gamba doesn't improve. Joseph Willows, he's not on an improvement. Willows down in 14th at the moment, across the line, and he stays where he is. So far, the 2 McLarens struggling at this point in time. Roberto Gamba doesn't improve. Jake Galloway, no improvement for him. Jamie Griffiths is currently in 15th position, stays 15th. For the time being, we've got another
crash. Looks like Gallet has been involved. Has he gotten off on his own, or did he hit the back of Zontag there? Try to go side by side, and looks just as we had with Griffiths.
It's the bump again.
Once again, a Williams involved, but not the Williams that took damage.
Luckily, though, this is a rarity in the race, of course, because they're all bunched together in qualifying. And, Gomez involved as well.
What's happened to him there?
Don't know. It may have been a similar incident, unless he may
Maybe
have
he's hit some debris.
May have hit debris from Gal, let's see.
He was on a flying lap there, though. Look at that.
It was on a... And yeah, there's debris, look, you can see it, look, it's bouncing across the track, and it's the wheel he clips. And that kind of reminds me of Florian Volker's crash from 2017.
Reminds me of a real-life crash in 2016 as well. During that race.
Indeed so. Luckily, like I said, this is a rarity in the race, of course. Because they're all bunched together in qualifying, these things can happen. Hopefully not too much. And another crash as well from Q-Pop because he's caught the debris
just
as well.
Had to jinx it.
This is just all over. No, I said for the race. I haven't really jinxed it. Really. But yeah, that's
in any case, in the race, we usually don't tend to see 2 drivers going to the pit lane side by side with each other.
Debris, well, most of the debris has magically disappeared there, so there should be an easier path there for all the other drivers.
In any case, Kiyopok and Gomez might be a little bit pissed with that, especially Gomez, given that both of them were on improvements. They were green on the dev panel before they collected the debris, and because of that debris, they weren't able to improve. And Gomez may be especially angered by that because he's on the back row in what will be his last race for now.
Indeed so. As now we wait for another set of cars to go out on the track. For some of these guys, it'll be spare cars, of course, because they had a crash, and a lot. There's
a little bit of a traffic jam all aboard the Willows train.
It was mainly because of Gal, of course, who hasn't been towed over yet, but now he will, and all these cars should be getting going again once Gal's thing gets hoisted over, which they do. So that's that, really. Not
Gomez is already back out in the spare car.
Yep, Gomez wasting no time at all and getting out there onto the racetrack. We might see a scattering of cars now as a result going out on the track.
The bigger question about Gomez is, obviously he will have time for this run, but we'll have time for another one after that. With 7 minutes, I think it's a little close.
Indeed, as he will now make his way through turn 5 now then, before approaching the long swooping right-hander, of course.
Laura
And
with a little bit of a threat to Mercedes in the chat there.
yeah, indeed. I think I saw that as well. But anyway, now 3 cars on track. We've got Gomez, Kirby, and Byrne now out on the racetrack. Currently in the drop zone, Martinez, Videri, Fraser, Sontag, Gomez, and Kirby right now. And of course, so far, Griffiths and Wilson looking pretty good in 15th and 16th. Whether they can hold on to it, though, that is going to be another question. It'd be an amazing achievement for Manor if they can get one of their cars through into Q2 in the final top class qualifying for them before they head off to World Champ Car next season, and before being replaced, of course, by the brand new Lamborghini team. But anyway, as Gomez now then is going to start, I would presume, well, this will be his second flying lap. It would have been his third flying lap if it weren't for that crash. But anyway, he's going to start that lap now then, and hopefully he doesn't get any traffic, Rob.
Hopefully not. He was on for an improvement on that previous lap, but we obviously know what happened. Let's see if he can keep it clean this time. There was no fault of his own, so let's see if he can have no faults this time around. And heading out onto the back straight, looks like there is no traffic. There's a car further up front, but won't be close enough to disturb him, and he is up by 10.5 in the first sector, just 2/10 off provisional pole. I guess it's not proper to call it provisional pole, considering Q1 doesn't determine pole, but alas. Into the Ferradura he goes, Gabriel Gomez going as fast as he dares. I think he took it flat there, or just about. As now he's gonna brake hard into Laranja. He's getting closer to that car in front of him, which is a Manor. I'm not sure if it's a matter of Wilson or Martinez, but don't forget, both those Manors are fighting to avoid the drop zone, and Gomez is fighting to escape the drop zone.
Indeed so. Well, at the moment, he's not got too close to the exhaust of whichever Manor that is. Let's see what the second sector is like. He's
7/10 up. That's a massive improvement.
I would imagine he could threaten to get into the top 16 and maybe push Wilson down.
I think he can even get himself 12th for that lap, or 13th. Let's see as he crosses the line. He's got to get a healthy dose of slipstream too, and he's not going to get him crashed into by debris this time. He's going on 12th, knocking out Wilson for now.
We went 20th there, so he's still in the drop zone, burned down on his.
Kirby just at the exact same time as Federi, mind you.
Yes, indeed. Luckily, well, because this is qualifying, it doesn't have to matter about this, but luckily, the vanilla game will still read it as Videri ahead of Kirby because Alfa Romeo have a higher garage than Haas, so
yeah,
kind of lucky there.
Wilson, this might be her last shot. Let's see if she can get back to safety. No, she can't. Stuck in P17 thanks to Gomez improving. As now Fraser, let's see what he's going to do. He improves but stays in 21st.
Sontag is also up on his personal best, down to last as a result.
Looks like he's 4/10 up at the moment, but that might not get him another place. In fact, she has netted him a few places. He's gone up into 18th. Splitting the two Manors there. Nicolas Gomez next to cross the line, provisional P4 in his last qualifying session for Red Bull. He won't be knocked out in Q1, of course, but let's see if he can improve on this lap. No, he can't.
Erlen Boy Martinez, as a result of that improvement from Sontag, he has put both Hasses now onto the back row of the grid, as Martinez now then goes down the pit straight in his final qualifying for now at least, as he will cross the line and no improvement, stays in 19th. Q-Pot doesn't improve, he stays in P11. He's also in the spare car after his crash that we saw a little bit earlier on. Here comes Franco Lopez, crossed the line on a 1 minute 7.572, he doesn't improve. Willows is up on his
improving.
Across the line, and no, he lost time in the last sector.
007, he missed out on an improvement bias. The Rosa has just improved over Laura Chung as she crossed the line to stay in P9.
Indeed, as car goes fastest now, 1 minute 7.337. So it's now a Mercedes 1-2 car to the top of the timing sheets. Here comes Chatfield, no improvement, stays where he is. Rote doesn't improve either. Andre Videri crosses the line, goes up to 10th. That's a big improvement. That pushes Griffiths
absolutely massive
to the drop zone, and Willows could be in trouble here because he's just in the cusp of the top 16 if people in the drop zone get out in time. Here comes Roberto Gamba.
Roberto Gamba, who is in danger, is in P15 at the moment, is on a massive improvement. Let's see if he can consolidate his safety as he crosses the line. He sure can. He's gonna be 10th place, and that should eliminate the threat of him being knocked out.
Weighing Franco Gamba don't improve, and I think these are the runs done with. Now, are we going to get any more? Are we going to get one more run for some guys before the session comes to a close?
Griffiths did not go out on track in this previous run, so I'm 100% expecting him to go out for this one.
Indeed. Well, he needs to be quick. He needs to get out before the 1 minute 7 zone. Otherwise, that will be qualifying. That'll be Q1 done for him, and he will not take part in Q2. We'll have to see as Gomez is actually going out.
He's just on the cusp. But, well, one place in front of the cusp, I should say. But in any case, he can't get complacent. He's already gone back out on track. And I was asking 5 minutes ago or so if he would get this last run after the damage he incurred earlier, and he did get it, thankfully.
He did indeed. So Gomez will get him. He's currently 15th. He will look to try and improve if he can. And there's another car that's just come out on the track, but I'm not sure who because there's still a couple of cars.
It's Griffiths.
Still a couple of cars who are coming into the pit still, and we'll see if it is Griffiths or not.
Galloway and Gambo have also gone out. Franco has just gone in actually. Galloway's also come in, but Griffiths is on track.
Indeed, so Willows needs to get out there in case Griffiths decides to drop him down. Otherwise, we could be looking at McLaren being eliminated in Q1. As now Gomez is preparing to start his final flying lap of Q1 as he just makes his way through the final turn, the flat-out left-hander, or you could call this one as a corner, in fact, through the left-hander, and now down the pitch straight, and he will start his lap. Kirby has also gone out on track. He's given himself one more chance to get himself through into Q2, through into the first corner. Then goes Gomez. I think I just saw a car there right next to him as we just went through the first corner.
There's a car going around now. I wonder who that is, and it appears to be Zontag.
As we've got a Renault also out on track as well, and a Manor. One of the Manors has gone out. Willows has not gone out yet. As Willows, I don't think is going to go out. So Willows is not going out on track. So Willows has got to pray. Yeah, he's run out of time, so he's got to pray that he's done enough to get himself scraped through into Q2. We'll have to wait.
Either way, if he does make it, he'll make it by just 300ths of a second. So he'll definitely scrape by if he manages to hold on.
Indeed, as Gomez is currently holding up Byrne, we'll expect Byrne to probably pass Gomez on the pitch strip, but Gomez is not up on his personal best, so far it looks like he's going to stay in 16th at best, as he now makes his way
15th.
15th size. He makes his way through Young Cal now. Then up the hill he goes before.
I think Byrne is going to want to pass him before he gets his flying lap underway. He doesn't want any sort of traffic, and he's already going for the move.
Indeed, so Byrne shouldn't get interfered at all as he makes the pass on Gabriel Gomez. Does it before the corner, which is quite impressive. But Gomez doesn't improve, and Griffiths is not up. So at the moment, Griffiths is not going to be able to dethrone Willows from the top 16 threshold. As now
10 seconds to go.
Across the line, and Griffiths does not improve. He is out. He stays in 17th. So Griffiths
Can Fraser get to the line in time, I wonder?
Three.
He will make it,
2,
yes.
1, 0. Yes, only just. Fraser just makes it in time. He's given himself one more lap indeed. As
I'm afraid Martinez hasn't made it to the line in time. He is out. Let's watch Dudu Corbido in his last qualifying session. What can last year's GP2 champion do in front of his adoring home fans? Doesn't look like he can do much, I'm afraid. He is struggling.
Indeed, as now Kirby makes his way through the final 2 turns, doing his best to try and wow the Brazilian crowd as he now makes his way down the pit straight and across the line. Will go Dudu Kirby, and he doesn't improve, stays in 21st, and he is out. Willows didn't get out in time, and he's got to pray that nobody's improving in the bottom 6. Sontag isn't improving. He's down in 19th at the moment as he now comes down the pit straight, and the German will now cross the line, and no improvement, stays 19th. He's out as De Rosa didn't make it to the line in time. Byrne crosses the line, goes up to 4th. A big improvement there for him. Wilson
goes Wilson.
The line.
Is she gonna be out? Yes, she is out. That means both mares have been knocked out in the last qualifying session, as Gal goes for fastest.
Laura Chung now then goes down the pit straight, and across the line she will go, and she does not improve. There's still Fraser out there, isn't there? Where is Fraser? Or has he crossed the line already? I'm not sure. No, he's crossed the line. He's now just crossed the line. He doesn't improve. So Willows just makes it by the skin of his teeth. So Fraser didn't make...
second. He survived by. In any case, Desarmar and Franco Lopez at the top, as expected.
In your bottom 6, Jamie Griffiths, Emilia Wilson, Felix Sontag, Rosetta Martinez, Dudu Kirby, and Daniel Fraser. So the both Hasses on the back row of
both Hasses, both Manners, and both Williams is knocked out. Usual suspects, I dare guess. But in any case, so that's been Q1, and Griffiths and Wilson almost made it, but almost wasn't good enough.
Indeed so, as we wait for Q2 to get underway, just a brief pause for a moment, guys, and we'll get Q2 underway. But in the meantime, let us know your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in Q number 2. But overall, a very interesting session, you'd have to say, Rob.
Yeah, definitely very exciting. And I'll give my prediction right away. I think one McLaren, both Renaults, both AlphaTauris, and what else is there? It's going to get...
you haven't got a Manor...
And the Ferrari is going to get knocked out. That's my prediction.
Okay.
As I'll
Start.
take a short bathroom break. Be right back.
No problem. So anyway, a very interesting session, it's fair to say. The Mercedes is looking particularly strong, it's fair to say. Franco Gamba also looking very strong in this session, although he was looking strong in one of the sessions and then he ended up having a poor qualifying. I think that was in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that one. I'm sure if Franco is in the stream chat, he will correct me on that. I don't think he is, though. So that's that, really. So I'm just going to put the tweet up for you guys. So apologies if I go a bit silent for a moment, guys, but, you know. So... in Q1, of course, where for anybody who's just joined us, the people who got eliminated in Q1 are Griffiths, Wilson, Sontag, Martinez, Kirby, and Fraser. So, unfortunately, in Kirby's last qualifying, before he retires from the OC as a whole, he's going to be starting for the back row of the grid in front of his adoring fans. The other Brazilian, who also won't be on the top class grid for now, at least, after this race, will be in Q2 and be looking to put on a good show. Same for his teammate Andrea Vaderi. And so be interested to see where the Alfa Romeos can get to before the in Q2, whether they can try and scrape one car through into Q1, because it did show some very good pace did the Alfa Romeos. That's that, really. So obviously, if anybody wondering where Rob's gone, he's just gone to take a little break. He'll be back in just a little bit. He'll be back before Q2, so don't worry about that. And that's that, really. So here we go, then. We've got Q2 screen over here now. Rob will join us in just a bit. But anybody who wants a reminder, we've got no rain expected for the entirety of the session, so you don't need to worry about that. But in the meantime, we will get on with it. I'll ask Rob what his predictions are in just a bit when he comes back. But in the meantime, I'll put my predictions. I'm going to say both Alfa Romeos, both McLarens, an AlphaTauri, and I'm going to say a Ferrari. They are my predictions. Obviously, actually, Rob already said his predictions, actually, so I don't need to ask him again. In terms of your predictions, guys, I will mention it once we get some cars on the racetrack. Here we go, then, for the 15-minute Q2 session. And it'll be interesting to see who will advance into the final part of qualifying, the final qualifying of the real-life performance era before we head off into the fantasy era. And, of course, hopefully we will have a very good qualifying session to end this era, of course, as we wait for the first car to go out onto the racetrack. And it's going to be Miklos Gau who's going to be first onto the racetrack. Are you back yet, Rob? Oh, he's not. Okay, I'll ask again in just a bit. But anyway, I'll read you guys' predictions. Here are her predictions that you guys have said. So, Ra has said both Alphas, a McLaren, a Ferrari, an AlphaTauri, and a Renault. Fonchanik has said both Alphas, both Ferraris, a McLaren, and an AlphaTauri. And Dennis has said both Alfa Romeos, both Ferraris, one AlphaTauri, and one Renault. And hello, David Kupok has just joined us in the stream chat there. So hello to you there, Dave, as Gal makes his way around the long, swooping right-handers. Are you there this time, Rob? No, he's still doing what he needs to do. So anyway, as I'm sure he'll give me a notification when he's back soon anyway, so we'll wait for that notification. So anyway, Miklos Gau is about to start his first flying lap of Q number 2, and as he now makes his way up the hill now then towards the long swooping left-hander. And now he will start his first flying lap then the Q2. Of course, his final qualifying session as a Red Bull driver before he heads back to AlphaTauri next season to partner alongside Davey Kupok. So be interested to see if AlphaTauri will take advantage of the new era of the OC and actually have a decent car next season. Of course, that is what Gal is hoping will be the case when he joins the team, or returns to the team, I should say, next season. Miklos Gau, let's see what his first sector time is going to be like. It's a 17.260 in the first sector point. It's 17.198 for Jake Galloway. He's actually set a better first sector than Gal has. And we also had a Mercedes who's actually stuck behind Gal. That Mercedes being Lopez, who did a 17.045. So probably got a healthy bit of slipstream there from Miklos Gal as a result, as they now make their way through
Sorry
this
to
long
keep you waiting.
Robbie's now back with us, as Gal now then just goes around the hairpin, as he'll now make his way towards the flat-out left-hander, as he'll now approach Young Cao to complete his lap. Let's see what his second sector is like. Actually, a 51.425 for Miklos
He's way
Gal.
off Lopez, half second.
Lopez is actually right behind him, in fact, Rob. So I think Lopez is getting an extra bit of slipstream from the Hungarian. In fact,
Quite a
Lopez may
lot,
want to try and pass it. As they're now going to go side by side. Let's see. Across the line will go Lopez and Gal. And Lopez goes quickest by 0.6 of a second there. 1 minute 7.534. As Galloway goes into second. Roke crosses the line. Slots to fourth just behind Gal. Here comes Kirishima De Rosa. As he will now make his way around the long sweep from left-hander. We saw in Q1 that the McLarens were struggling quite a lot. Both De Rosa and Willows struggling, it seemed, in Q1 earlier. De Rosa crosses the line. Slots into fifth. Motrin goes into second. Here comes Evan Byrne in the Renault. Cross the line. Slots into sixth. Here comes Franco Gamba. And now, what can he do? He's actually 7/10 off Lopez. Yeah, he's way off in the middle sector, and then he goes 8th. A poor lap there for Franco Gamba. And I wonder if he made a mistake or not. Chong crosses the line, goes into 17th. Chatfield across the line, he will go, goes into 10th. As Willows goes into 4th, so he's actually turned up the wick, it seems, in this second part of qualifying. Videri goes into 12th. Here comes Gabriel Gomez, the home favourite, crosses the line, goes into 7th. A good time hit there for Gabriel Gomez, it's fair to say. He seems like he wants to end his top-class career for now on a high. As Carr goes fastest by 0.3 of a second, and 1 minute 7.2 exactly. David Kupok, 14th for him, and Roberto Gamba goes into 14th. Not a good lap for them. Both Gambas struggling, but I wonder, did Franco Gamba make a mistake on his lap? I'm not sure, because he's all the way down in 12th position.
It could have been the case, but he's exactly 4/10 slower than his teammate Gal, so it looks like Red Bull are just struggling to get the balance of the car right in this Q2 session. So maybe that's it rather than a driver mistake, but I'm not sure.
Indeed so. As Galloway now then will come, just coming to the pits, as will everybody else, of course. And
yeah.
we will wait to see what the second laps have to offer. But so far, the Mercedes is continuing what they did in Q1, Rob, and they so far 1-2 in the same order as well.
Yeah, indeed. The car is doing the absolute best he can. The championship criteria, if you want to get down to the math, can be a little boring. But if you want to keep it nice and simple, guy needs to do the absolute best he can. And right now he's doing it. If he wins the title or not, that'll depend on what Lopez does tomorrow.
Indeed so, as we have just over 10 minutes to go in this qualifying session, well, in Q2, in fact, to see who's going to get eliminated in this second part of qualifying, as Videri currently in 16th position, his teammate currently in the top 10 so far. You have to say, a very good first lap for Gabriel, you'd have to say, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely impressive. I totally did not see that coming, but he just about scraped through Q2. Looks like he might have an easier time. If he makes it to Q3 or not, I'm not sure. But that was one hell of a banker lap he's got there.
As now Franco Lopez is going to go out on track first of all, I presume because he obviously beat Gal. So Lopez going out on track first. I wonder if Gal will come out second. We'll have to wait and see. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it don't. Depends what GP4's mind is like today. So anyway, as Lopez comes out onto the racetrack, and so out on track he goes. Of course, if the grid were to stay like that for the race, of course we've still got another session to go. But if it were to stay like that tomorrow, with Carr in first and Lopez in second, Lopez would become the second ever back-to-back champion. The first ever back-to-back champion, of course, being Florian Volker, having done it in 2010 and 2011, whilst he was driving for Red Bull. 2011, of course. In fact, Yuri actually recently compared Lopez's 2020 season to that of Florian Volker's 2011 season. Of course, Lopez has not got the most wins this season, it's fair to say. He's only got 4 wins this season, whereas you look at Carr, who's got 8 wins this season, and Gal, who's got 5 wins this season, they've obviously got more than him. But because of his consistency, which was the same reason for Volker's title in 2011, it's allowed him to have this chance to win another championship. And even so far to say that, in fact, a lot of us in the discussions, in silent decisions chat on Discord, I'll get my words out in the end, some of us have even been comparing Lopez to Volker a little bit in terms of how his seasons have been so far, because he's had a very good 2019 season like Volker had. Okay, Volker didn't get more wins than Willows that season, but, you know, he was still one of the favourites, it's fair to say, to win the title that season. And then 2011 doesn't get more wins than his rivals, but his consistency pays through. And who knows really how far Lopez can go in his career, Rob?
Yeah, that is very true. Either way, Lopez has not had the best season when you look at wins. Definitely had the measure of cost so far for sheer consistency. However, he has not wrapped this title up yet. He was gonna in Abu Dhabi until his engine had another idea. Now, I think he knows what needs to avoid happening. He doesn't have to push. He can let the car have the win, no doubt. All Lopez needs to do is bring the car home nice and steady. Don't make any mistakes, don't push the car too hard so it doesn't break on him. And Lopez will be a two-time champion. All that he needs to do is take P5, which in this car, even on a horrible day, you can do.
And he would also be the fourth driver to become a multiple-time champion if he does that tomorrow. He doesn't improve, meanwhile. He stays in second place. We now look at Roland Motrin, who's 2 tenths down on his personal best in the middle sector. Currently in third place is the Hungarian, and yet still yet to get his first win so far. Of course, a couple of times this season, Roland has come close to winning races, albeit for several reasons he wasn't able to achieve that. But Motrin crossed the line, no improvement for him there. As we now look at Garber, who's up on his personal best, and he's setting a much better time than what he did on the previous lap, as he's 6 tenths up on his personal best in the middle sector. So this should comfortably get him into the top 10, but whereabouts, we'll have to wait and see.
Maybe not comfortably. He could yet be P9, actually, depending on how much he can gain back in the last sector. Actually, he might be gaining back a lot. Yes, he's gone third.
Well, De Rosa goes up into 4, so he gets out of the drop zone. Chatfield goes up to 9, pushes Gomez into the drop zone. Roke up into 3rd now. Galloway crosses the line, stays where he is, which is P8. Made that, yeah, it's Gal, only 7th that time by, so not a good lap there for Miklos Gal. As Amar Kar crosses the line, doesn't improve, stays on 1 minute 7.2. Byrne crosses the line, goes into 8th, and that pushes Chatfield back into the drop zone. Kupok across the line. Goes into 13th only. He's still in the drop zone. Here comes Willows, who's down on his personal best. Currently on the cusp of the top 10 right now, and he stays in 10th for the moment. As Chung, meanwhile, is up on her personal best, and she's in the drop zone. So let's see what the Chinese driver is able to achieve. Of course, her final race at Ferrari before she heads off to the brand new Lamborghini team. She gets into the top 10, pushes Willows into the drop zone. Videri across the line.
There he goes, 16th, stays there.
Gomez crosses the line, stays in 13th, no improvements. Roberto Garbo is also up on his personal best, and he's down in 15th. So let's see if both Ferraris are able to get into the top 10 on this lap. Gamba across the line, and only 15th for him there. So Chung clearly having the measure of Roberto at the moment, Rob.
Yeah, only an improvement in lap time, not position. And this is Roberto Gamba's last qualifying session, of course. Let's see if his next flying lap will be his last, or if he can make it to Q3.
We will see, of course, but we will wait for those third runs to happen. But a much better lap there for Franco Gamba, Rob. And I think it's fair to say his first lap he may have had a mistake.
Could be the case, yeah. Maybe in sector 3, I guess. But in any case, Franco Gamba, his Q3, his entrance to Q3 was in doubt. Not anymore.
Indeed so. As meantime, I've just seen the cover art for the standard edition for F1 22. It features Leclerc, Norris, and Russell. Not surprisingly,
I'm surprised it doesn't have
Hamilton.
Yeah, that's what I'm surprised about.
Nice. A bit of a surprise there that neither Hamilton nor Verstappen are on the cover, but that's on the standard edition. I'm pretty sure there's other cover arts as well, and it looks like they, because it's EA, they've kind of gone similar with the EA style now. I mean, they've been doing it with faces for a while, but you can tell now that they've added a bit more of an element that EA does with their FIFA games. But anyway, back to the OC as we wait for the third runs to happen. And there's recently just been, just on the topic of F1 2022, they've just released some gameplay of Miami, by the way, for anybody wondering. So, anyway, as Videri is now being wheeled back into the garage, as has his teammates just come into the pits. Who's going to get out first? Will it be Lopez again, or will it be someone else? Let's see. And it's a Red Bull. In fact, it's Miklos Gal. So Gal has actually gone to the front this time by. Hopefully Lopez doesn't catch him up like last time. He's currently down in 7th at the moment. So far, not been the best of sessions for Gal, you'd have to say, Rob.
No, definitely not. He could be in danger if some other people don't have to much. I'm sure Miklos Gal knows full well that he's got more in the car than this. And I'm sure he can find an improvement in this last lap of Q2.
Indeed, as we now look at Gal, who's just making his way around.
If you don't mind, could I commentate for the flying lap?
Indeed, I just want to go through. So, Gal, of course, As mentioned earlier, this is his last race for Red Bull before he heads off to AlphaTauri, so maybe his last chance to get a victory, unless the AlphaTauri next season is competitive in next season or even seasons afterwards if Gal decides to stay on a lot longer. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, we're about to start the lap, and as Rob said, we will let him go through it.
Alright, cheers mate, let's do this. It's a long run down to the start-finish line, of course. Keep it flat all the way, otherwise you can lose out on a bunch of lap time. But here goes Miklos Gal. Just 3 minutes on the clock. Can he improve on this? The run towards the Senna S's is not too long. We need to be hard on the brakes and precise because you go downhill to this apex and he's taking it very aggressively there. Using all the curb into 2 and 3 into curva do sol. Keep it nice and flat. Foot to the floor, launch yourself onto the Posta and keep going. Brake as late as you dare and turn in sharply and rapidly. Gal's already up in the first sector, though not by much. Taking all the curb and then some on exit there to give him the best line for this section as now approaches Ferradura. Should be flat, and here he goes. Had to lift a little bit there, a little bit of a downshift. And now Miklos Gal braking hard into Laranja, clips the apex nice and early and gets on the throttle quickly. Rapid change of direction in this section, of course, can net you a lot of lap time. He can gain or lose. As down to the Pico de Pato, he brakes hard and gets on the throttle rapidly and early. This is exactly what you need to do, is carry the speed flat from Agulio, and the last braking zone of the track is Junsao. Gal is actually down by 0.2 of a second. This could be rather difficult, because if he doesn't improve, he'll be at the mercy of everyone else, because if they improve and he doesn't, he could very well find himself out.
Indeed so, as Gal is now going to cross the line. Thank you for that insight, and well, he did not improve.
You're welcome.
What happened in the last 2 sectors there, but Lopez crosses the line, no improvement, stays in second. Chris Chatfield crosses the line, goes up into...
That is a mega lap for Chris Chatfield to go P8.
That pushes Galloway into the drop zone, and speaking of which, this is his last chance, of course, judging by how much time is left, and Galloway doesn't make it. Galloway is out, and Willows is currently in the drop zone. De Rosa, meanwhile, didn't improve. He went into 5th. I'm not sure if Willows has finished the lap there. I didn't quite...
Motrin is already comfortably safe, so we're not going to have to worry about him, but he's going to come through anyway. He doesn't improve, just about narrowly. Misses out.
Chung now then makes her way up the hill towards the long swooping left-hander, the last 2 corners, which are all flat out, of course. Chung currently in the cusp of the top 10, so she'll be hoping she's done enough to get through into Q3 in her final qualifying session as a Ferrari driver. She didn't improve.
Looks like it's so far, but it can change very rapidly as Gamba crosses the line without an improvement.
Willows is not on an improvement, and in fact he's going to get overtaken by Roke here as they go side by side, and Roke doesn't improve and Willows doesn't improve. So Willows is out. He stays in 12th, so Willows is out in Q2. Gomez doesn't improve. He's out. He remains in 13th. Videri out as well, as he just got overtaken there by Armar Carr, the man at the top of the time sheet. Kupot crosses the line, goes only up to 12th, so he's out.
Same time as Galloway.
Yes, indeed. And just looking at that, yeah, in garage order that would be fine anyway. But of course it doesn't really matter because we're in Q2. But same time for Galloway and Kupot to end the session there. But luckily the vanilla game would still read Galloway in front of Kupot because Renault have a higher garage than AlphaTauri. So just thought I'd mention that as that's that then for the end of Q2 then. Nobody else has crossed the line, and we've got the rest of the sessions there. So Carr at the top, Lopez in second and Roke in third, and the bottom 6, Jake Galloway, David Kupot, Joseph Willows, Gabriel Gomez, Roberto Gamba in his final ever qualifying session all the way down in 15th, and Andre Videri in 16th position.
Well, it looks like we got both Alphas, one McLaren, one AlphaTauri, one Renault, and one Ferrari out. So yeah, checker flag is out, but Laura Chung has made it through in their last qualifying session. For Ferrari, she'll be in Q3 by just 0.7 of a second. Meanwhile, Armar has had a pretty dominant Q2 lap, but Q2 isn't what decides pole. What decides pole is coming right up.
Indeed, and a reminder of your bottom 6, Galloway, Kupot, Willows, Gomez, Roberto Gamba, and Videri. Well, Q3 will be coming in just a bit, so just bear with, guys. Obviously, we allow Yuri to sort out all the stuff he needs to do to get to Q3 underway. But in the meantime, guys, you can let us know your prediction on who you believe will take pole position for tomorrow's Brazilian Grand Prix, the final race of the 2020 season, the final race of the real-life performance era. You can let us know that whilst we wait for Q3 to get underway. So that's that really. So it's so far been a very interesting session, but it looks like the Mercedeses are the ones to beat again, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely, but you can never count out the Red Bulls. Gal did struggle in this Q2 session, but he can easily get back up on pace. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Speaking of which, Joe, I'd like to ask who is your prediction for pole, because mine is Armor Car as things stand.
Same here. I think Car has been on fire these last few qualifying sessions, and I think that's probably going to continue here in Brazil. So, yeah, I believe Armar Car is going to get the final pole of 2020, but I could be proven wrong, of course. Things could happen in this qualifying session which make it go another direction. We'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, I'm just going to get the tweet prepared, and so apologies if I go a bit silent for a moment.
Yeah, no worries.
So, anyway.
Q4.
Well, there was discussions about a Q4 in the past for Formula One, but luckily those haven't come into fruition, and hopefully don't in the future. I do remember that being a topic at one point. Although, speaking of real life, there's been a conversation about a third qualifying format being discussed to be used during the season to go alongside the sprint race and the traditional qualifying. Although I wouldn't really call it a format change, it's just one where they would just use a normal qualifying format, but in Q1 they would go on the hard tyres, Q2 the medium tyres, and Q3 the soft tyres. I don't know what your thoughts about that are, Rob.
I mean, it changes literally nothing for Q3, so it's just a small change for Q1 and Q2, really.
Yeah, I don't really see a point of it, to be honest with you. To be honest, I think it's just a pointless suggestion, but there we are.
They said it was to save down on tire set, so that Pirelli has to produce less.
Okay,
or something like that.
Fair enough. But yeah, to be honest with you, they probably, if they want to do that, why don't they just incorporate that onto the normal qualifying system itself rather than just giving us a few different qualifying formats? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But there we are.
By the way, they also announced the release date for F1 2022 was also revealed, 1st of July, also known as Canada Day if you're Canadian, and also known as 1st of July, also known as Friday if you're not Canadian.
And also the weekend of the British Grand Prix, for anybody wondering.
Yeah, indeed.
I know that because yes, and I know that, of course, because I'm actually going to the British Grand Prix on the Sunday, on the 3rd. So
yes,
and oddly enough, I found this out though a week later. Florian's actually going to the Austrian Grand Prix, so how ironic.
Hey, Joe, out of the British drivers who got on the F1 grid, because we got a fair few of them, who's your favorite? You just got muted.
I just had to do something.
Okay.
That's what I said. Give me a moment. I'm not sure if it
sure.
There. But anyway, we just wait for Q3 to get underway. So
are we still live?
We're still live. We're still talking.
Okay. Yeah, I was asking, out of the British drivers who got on the F1 grid, who's your favorite, considering you'll be going to Silverstone and all?
Well, I consider myself a neutral, really. I don't really have a favourite, to be honest. I just watch it just for the racing. I don't really support, mainly because I'm one of those sorts of people that don't like to suck into fandom, if you get what I mean, because you can get yourself sucked into a toxic area of F1
And I
fans.
wish I could be like that, but fair enough.
So I think for the last, I'm trying to think when did I become a neutral? I think it must have been around 2017. I think when I started to become a neutral.
So after Jen Saban retired.
Well, I wasn't a Button fan, but I respected him for that. But yeah, he was one of my favourites. He wasn't.
I think I respect him. So.
Yeah, but anyway, we're getting set for Q3. And here we go then. So we've predicted our predictions for pole position. We're just going to read what everybody else has said in the chat. Min has said Franco Garbo. He's gone for a Red Bull to go for pole. Dennis has said Almar Carr for pole. Ra has said Lopez for pole. And Von Chanek says Lopez for pole as well. So that's that then. As we now get underway.
We just read an interesting suggestion from Laura for Q4. Q4 1v1, no rules racing. Whoever finishes first after one lap gets pole, and whoever finishes second back out the grid. How would that work in real life? It'd be a mess.
I think Formula E would adopt that because they like the gimmicks, don't they?
A little bit too much.
Indeed. Anyway, into the OC now then, back to the OC, and it's going to be Chris Chatfield who's going to be first on the racetrack in Q number 3, the final part of qualifying, the final bit of qualifying of the real-life performance era. And, well, let's see who's going to get the final pole of the season then. As Chatfield is the first one out on the racetrack. There's also somebody else, according to the minimap, that's also just come out onto the track, and that's Kirishima De Rosa. And so has Evan Burns. So 3 cars currently out on the racetrack, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, on the top left. As now Chatfield will make his way towards the long super right-hander. Franco Gamba has now just come out onto the track.
Well, speaking of Chatfield, since you're on board with him, what do you think of his season so far, Joe?
Well, I think it's been an okay season for him. I think it's fair to say. Obviously, he will be driving for Ferrari next season. This is, of course, his last race
For a team he's gone to in 3 years, of course. Haven't been at Hessian last time.
Yes, indeed. So the first half of the season, the beginning of the season was good for Chris. He had a bit of a moment in the middle half. I think it's fair to say that QPOC has probably had the edge on him this season. But I would say the second half, he's definitely turned it up. I mean, he came close to getting a podium, let's not forget, in Kota. But, of course, Gal, with a few laps to go, ironically, the person who's replacing him at AlphaTauri, ended up steaming past him down the, I think it was down the back straight, if I'm not mistaken. So
it was always a long shot, but he still did very well, did Chris.
Did finish 4th, and who knows, maybe the podium is probably not far away for him. Whether he'll get it when he's at Ferrari next season, we'll have to wait and see. Whether Ferrari will be competitive again next season or not, that's also another question. Of course, I don't know anything about the performances, nor does anyone else. Only Yuri does.
Chatfield is personally fastest in the first sector. He's quicker than Byrne and De Rosa with 17.1, while the others two. Gamba is actually slower than Chatfield, as a matter of fact, right now. The Honda being very, very efficient down the straights, because Sector 1 is mostly straights and just 3 corners in it.
Oh, did a 17.1 as well, but not quicker than
Holy,
Chatfield.
this is going to be an amazing lap time for Chatfield. He's not even quicker than Rogue in the first sector.
Let's see, because the middle sector is where you can gain and lose most of the time. He's on a 51.417. The 2 Mercedeses haven't done a lap yet, have they? No, Lopez has a 17.1.
He's matching Byrne almost.
It's just quicker than Chatfield in the first sector is Lopez, I believe. But anyway, Chatfield now then comes across the line. What is the benchmark time going to be? It's a 1 minute 8.178. Here comes Kirishima De Rosa.
Not bad at all.
The McLaren goes second, over a second off. P2 for Byrne, got a little bit of slipstream there, I think, from De Rosa. Franco Gamba in the Red Bull, across the line he will go.
Can he beat Chatfield? He can. Just about narrowly by 3/100 of a second, as Laura Chang will be next across the line. What can she do?
Foul timing on the middle sector did Franco Gamba. Chung crosses the line, goes into 4th. As Roke goes fastest, had some help from slipstream there. 18 thousandths quicker than Franco.
Lopez made a mistake.
As and it's down at the left-hander here.
Oh, just caught on the bump there, and completely lost the car after that one. There was no recovering yet. He's going to have to go at it again later, but this lap is completely compromised. And these are sort of mistakes you don't want to make when trying to defend your championship. It's not consequential because he can go again. But imagine if that happened in the race, that wouldn't be a good thing at all. And Franco Lopez, yeah, this first lap is a total write-off. But we'll have to see if he can still fight for pole.
We've seen in previous races people crash there as well, of course. I remember Oliver Glazebrook's crashed there a few seasons ago. But meantime,
there's no purple, and but he's got the same engine as Roke. So it will be close down the straights. In fact, Racing Point could be just a tiny little bit quicker than Mercedes. And this sector is almost entirely straight line. So let's see who will be on provisional pole, Ka or Roke. And he's gone to Ka by just 800 a second before Gal absolutely smashes it.
Gal goes fastest by 0.3 of a second. Where's that one come from Nicolas Gal? Of course, let's not forget as well, Gal went to the top, obviously went quickest last season in Q3, but of course he had a 5-place grid penalty giving Loa Chung the pole position, so maybe could be out for redemption. Gal currently at the top at the moment, and of course,
yeah,
one driver we need to keep an eye on is Lopez, of course, and I could tell you right now that if it were to stay like that tomorrow, if Lopez somehow wasn't able to find a way to improve, if it stood like that tomorrow, Carr would be the champion. So,
comeback, I think, actually.
No, in fact, I think it would be by, 1 point, I think. It would be by 1 point. So,
sure.
No, in fact, yes, it would be a countback. Unless Carl got the fastest lap, then it would be 1 point. But yes, Carl would win it on a countback if the result stood like that tomorrow in the race.
In any case, the fastest lap in Q2 was 1:7.2. So we're way off the pace of what he had in Q2. That's quite a surprise, I have to say. Pretty much 4 or 5 tenths of that pace, and Ka especially has lost so much time. I think it just means these lap times we got right now on the board will not be final. There can be plenty of improvements. I wouldn't count anyone from the top 2 teams in the fight for pole, honestly. I'm not getting anybody out of them.
Indeed so, as we now wait for the second runs to happen, of course. At the moment,
But I have to
Gal-
say, not with even considering Lopez's mistake, that is a mighty impressive lap for Chris Chatfield to put in P5.
Indeed so, and a good lap from Gal as well, who's clearly turned up the wick and is starting to see if he can try and challenge the Mercedes as well. We'll wait to see whether Franco Garma can turn it up in these remaining 2 laps or not. But Evan Byrne is going to be first on track this time for the second runs of Q3, and as he's just making
I
his
just
way
like to
out.
touch. Don't forget that Gal picked up a nice little amount of slipstream in the last sector from Armor Car. I'm not sure if he'll get it again, but in any case, that was a very impressive lap.
Indeed, as the Irishman now then makes his way through into turn 5 now then, before making his way up towards the long swooping right-hander. As now we are making our way towards the hairpin, and he kind of missed the curve there a little bit. So
I think he'll be very happy with this P6, but let's not forget Lopez is almost certain to get himself in the top 5. So that would be P7 for Byrne, assuming neither he nor anyone else other than Lopez improves. So I'm sure Byrne will do his best to get 1 or 2 places higher than he is right now. He's gonna get going with this lap, and I'd like to go through it, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okie dokie then. Because you're the one. Usually the lead guy does the first lap, then the other guy does the second lap, and we're gonna go right now. Here goes Byrne. The run isn't exactly the greatest in the straight lines, but it's still alright as Byrne goes hard on the brakes and doesn't look too aggressive into turn 1. Clearly setting up for the traction zone here, and took a little bit too much curb, I think. Let's see if it's compromised him any time or not. Out goes Armarcada. It is. He's not gonna be beating him much. He's 6/100s down in the first sector as very wide he goes into Interlagos. I don't think it's compromised or anything, as Miklos Gal is still in the pits. We will be expecting him to go out, of course. Through the third row goes Byrne, very confident there, not taking any curb on exit. He doesn't want to unsettle the car balance. As now, through the long swooping left-hander, he goes and up the hill. He's gonna flick the car in to the Cotovelo or Pico de Pato or whatever it's called, this corner. Now down the hill towards Mergulo, looking confident as he goes flat out, taking a no curb on exit, but nevertheless he's 6/10 off, so this lap is a write-off. He's gonna have to hope he can get that improvement he wants on the final lap, as Gal has gone out on track.
Indeed so, as now Byrne is now going to cross the line. Let's see, and no improvement, stays in P6. Motrin just starting a lap as Garma is actually not up on his personal best at the moment, so a bit of a surprise.
Well, that's
there.
no good.
8 tenths off, in fact, so he's way off his personal best in the middle sector there. The Italian will now come across the line, and as expected, no improvement for him at this point. Chris Chatfield also not an improvement at the moment in the Alpha Tauri, as he now makes his way down the pit straight, and across the line will go Chris Chatfield, and no improvement, stays where he is at this point in time. Chung, meanwhile, is actually 5 tenths up on her personal best in the middle sector, so she could get herself a little bit higher in the field. But let's see, across the line and up to third. That's a big improvement. Roke goes fastest. Roke goes.
Pick up some nice slipstream there, but watch for Lopez. He could beat everyone here, and he is purple in the middle sector, 3 seconds up on his personal best. If it stays as is, he will get on original pole.
See though, because we did see with Car as well, they do lose time in the last sector compared to the racing points. But let's see, Lopez across the line, he will go now then, and he goes fastest by 14 thousandths of a second. Shows how strong the racing point is in the last sector. De Rose across the line, improves but stays in 10th. The pack separated by under a second. Car across the line, only 4 for him behind Gallon Road. That's not good news
Watch
for
for
him.
Motrin though.
Roland crosses the line and he goes into 5th. He slots behind Carr, and I think that's that. No, we've got Gal, of course. Gal is actually down on his personal best in the first sector, but usually we don't see much gain in that in the first sector. It's usually in the middle sector where we see most of the gains happening.
700 is still quite a lot though, considering the first sector, but in any case, let's see if we can recover any of that here in sector 2. Crossing the line, not really. Intrusion sound nice and early on the brakes, nice and early on the throttle, of course, on the exit. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be an improvement for Gal. Don't forget, he got some slipstream on his previous lap. So what is he going to do without it?
Let's see. Gal now then. Across the line he will go, and no improvement, stays in P3 behind Roke, who had a very good second lap, it's fair to say, Rob.
Yeah, indeed. But I have to say, Joe, in these second runs of Q3, the session's been absolutely fired up.
Indeed so, but as we saw there, the racing points definitely have an edge on the Mercedes on the third sector. We saw it with Carr's lap a little bit earlier on, of course, how he lost a bit of time to, I think it was Roke as well, in that sector. And the same has happened there because we saw that Lopez was actually 10th up in the second sector compared to Roke, and then he lost all the time in the last sector and only just beat him by 14 thousandths of a second. But the top three separated by 71 thousandths of a second. Quite tight at the moment, you'd have to say, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rogue got just a little bit of slipstream from Franco Gamba, but that wasn't the main thing. The main thing is that obviously Mercedes has more downforce than Racing Point, meaning they can go faster in the fast corners and everything, and the medium speed corners. But this track is very short, and you have to find the right compromise between downforce and drag, of course, between high wing and low wing. Looks like Racing Point have gone a little bit low wing on this one. It's helping them quite a lot in the straights, and George Roque almost put that car on pole.
Indeed so, as now Evan Byrne goes out onto the racetrack, and you would imagine these will be the final runs of Q3. We'll have to wait and see, as Byrne now then just prepares himself for his second lap. Also on the track now we have Franco Gamba, as he's desperate to try and get a little bit higher than 7th place, maybe try and get close to his teammate if he can, and get himself into the mix, as Byrne now then makes his way through into the hairpin. I think it's fair to say it has been, despite that amazing victory he had in Malaysia, Rob, it has been quite a disappointing season for Gamba.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. He just has had the measure of his team. Miklos Gal did much better than him this season, but Franco Gamba will be thankful. The fight for the Red Bull seat wasn't that hard really. It was just him and that random Nick Tanner dude. I have no idea who the hell he is. But in any case, Franco Gamba has held on to the seat, and I think this season was pretty much a season of learning. He'll be deploying 100% of his energy in 2021, I'm sure, as Byrne begins his next lap.
He does indeed, as he makes his way down the hill through the first two corners. I think one of these is called the Senna S. Through turn 2 and then into turn 3 we will go. As now he will approach the end of the first sector. Let's see if he goes up on his personal best. 17.239 was his personal best in the first sector. Let's see what it is. And he's 600 in the first sector. But let's see if he can keep that up in the middle sector. We'll have to wait and see. He's 1/10 down on Lopez. Meanwhile, in the first sector, should point that one out.
They might have done some setup tweaks with that car. It looks much more comfortable. He seemed to make a lot of tiny errors on the previous lap. Now Byrne seems just more at one with the car. I don't know what changes they made, but he's looking comfortable. A little bit of a slip up there, just a little bit of a small slide, but I don't think it's going to cost him too much time.
As now Byrne makes his way down through the flat out left-hander. Let's see what his middle sector is going to be like compared to his personal best, and he's actually down in the middle sector, in fact, by 999. There you go. Now
he can still claw it back, of course, but let's see what he's gonna do.
See, of course, we know how draggy this Renault is on a straight, so let's see. Byrne now then across the line, he will go, and he doesn't improve, stays in P number
He only got back
9.
200 of a second. Watch for Franco Gamba. This could be a very good lap.
Look at Gamba compared to Lopez, and Gamba goes fastest by 10th. 1 minute 7.461. Gamba was keeping that one in the locker room, wasn't he?
Absolutely. Where on earth did that come from? Very impressive lap from Franco Gamba. As Chris Chatfield is on a flyer right now, though I don't think there's much he can do. What he did on that first run was probably the best he could have done. He was down in the first sector right now and looked a little hesitant there on the turn-in on the previous corner. Let's see if Chatfield can find any time here in the middle sector. Yellow flags, meanwhile. Could they be further for Laura Chung? She almost got collected by the roaster there, but not quite. Either way, Gamba's already finished his lap, so it doesn't get disturbed.
Gamba nearly got collected there, but as you said, he's coming into the pits. He's just finished his lap. But is it enough for pole? That's going to be the question. And I'm trying to think, because Gamba's had a couple of poles this season. What number would this be? I'll have to quickly check. As Lopez is down on his personal best, he can't seem to gain a bit on Gamba at the moment.
But don't forget, he's got some tow from this guy, Chris Chatfield, and that could help him out a little bit.
Would be his 4th pole of the season. He would keep himself 5th of his career, of course, because he got one last season at Silverstone.
No,
Lopez,
he missed out.
Lopez doesn't improve.
Back a lot of time he lost, but just not all of it. Roken improved, but Gal goes on pole.
He goes fastest by nearly 0.2 of a second. He goes a 1 minute 7.298 car, finding the time he needed to, and he gets ahead of his rival Franco Lopez at this point in time. But it still wouldn't be enough.
Just a few hundreds slower than the Q2 lap that our car set, so he's finally back up to pace. But don't forget, Gal is still out there, as is Motrin.
Motrin now then going around the hairpin, but he's currently down on his personal best in the first sector. And
a slide there. That's definitely not an improvement.
A mistake there for the Hungarian there, and well, that lap's gone in the bin. 1.2 off of car in the second sector as a result. And,
definitely, Roke has been more at one in the car in this Q3 session. It's a tricky balance to find. Racing Point have had that before, as Gal just goes off, not off the track, but off his rhythm, I guess.
the Hungarians absolutely on the limit, it's fair to say there. Gal and Motrin really giving it everything they can in the middle sector, and look how much time he's lost because of that mistake. 7 tenths off his personal best, as he will now cross the line going around the final corner there. And let's see.
I think the fight for pole is held then. As you got 20 seconds to go.
Motrin obviously didn't improve as we saw from that mistake, and Gal didn't improve either. Anybody else on a lap? No, they aren't. So that's that then. So Armar makes it, I believe, 3 in a row. Armar is on pole position, or is it 2 in a row? I might be wrong on there. But either way, Armar takes the final pole of 2020. He takes pole position for tomorrow's Brazilian Grand Prix, and it is 3 in a row.
So we're going to let you.
So Car is on pole, so we're going to allow you to enjoy the pole lap from Armar.
Yep, here we go.
Great lap. Only sector you're not fastest in at the moment is the last sector by a couple of hundredths. We can't afford to slow down too much.
That is our Armar took pole position for tomorrow's Brazilian Grand Prix. A very good last lap banker there indeed, and he did so whilst a Racing Point in front there had a lockup going through into the hairpin. Luckily, though, he didn't get held up. But of course, if the result were to stay like that tomorrow, with Carr in first and Lopez in third, Lopez would become a back-to-back world champion. So Carr will need to hope that Lopez drops to sixth in the race if he goes on, of course, to win the Brazilian Grand Prix. But and of course, hope that Lopez don't get the fastest lap as well in the process if he drops to sixth. So. But that's that then. That is the final qualifying session of the real-life car performance era done with, and Armar is the final recipient of that. So there we go then. Here is your top 10. Armar on pole, Franco Gamba in second, Franco Lopez third, George Roque in fourth with Mikolas Gal fifth, Roland Motrin in sixth, Laura Chung a pretty good seventh in her final outing as a Ferrari driver before she heads off to Lamborghini, Chris Chatfield in eighth, Evan Byrne in ninth, and Kirishima De Rosa completes the top 10 over a second off of Car in the end. So what do you make of that session overall, Rob?
Well, I think it was very interesting. Many changes at the top all throughout. In the end, Gamba took us all by surprise, and he thought he had it, but Kyle had another idea. Obviously, if it stays as is, Kyle will not take the title, but he's doing everything he has to do, which is be there at the top. He's been fast every qualifying session, and it shows. He needs that win tomorrow, and the rest he'll have to hope it sorts itself out. Obviously, this is a lot like 2008 because one guy had to win the race to the other in P6 to take the title, and the other guy had to just finish fifth. And this could be a very reminiscent thing to that. I'm talking about the real life 2008, of course. It could be very interesting to see what happens. It's obviously advantage for Lopez, but Gaz's not going to give it up without a fight.
No, definitely not. And he's probably got to have the same mentality that he had back in 2018 when he was fighting for the title when he was at Ferrari, of course. Of course, he basically did everything he could to win that race in 2018. He just had to hope Volker dropped back further down the field in order for him to win the title. And sadly, for Carr, it didn't happen, of course. But he'll be hoping that becomes the case tomorrow, of course. Well, that is it for the final qualifying session of 2020. It's been a very interesting session, and the final pole of the real life car performance era goes to Amar Carr. That is it. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, we don't do the commentary for the race tomorrow because we allow George to do that for the highlights. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. It's been a very good season nonetheless. And of course, our commentary will return next season, of course, for both practice and qualifying. Of course, with practice being 40 minutes next season. So do look out for that, especially given that we should have more to talk about, given that it is the fantasy era. But that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching. I've been JW97. He has been Robert Ionescu, and we will see you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. BST for the title decider here in Brazil, the 71-lap Brazilian Grand Prix, the final race with real-life car performances. Who will walk away as the 2020 World Champion? Tune in tomorrow to find out. Till then, take care.
Either way, it'll be a race to remember. See you guys.